In this tutorial, we will talk about the long lower torso and the short lower torso. For the long lower torso, more length is needed from the waist to the crotch level. The long upper torso just needs the garment to travel a greater distance. So what we do is we make a horizontal cut above the low hip line and spread. We do this equally on both the front and the back. I like to avoid the crotch curve area when I'm making an adjustment like this, so I'm going to draft my cut line 1.5 inches above the low hip line. I'm also going to establish another guideline for matching parallel to grain and over in this area about 3 inches. I will now cut along my line and insert enough paper for the needed extra length. I've added 5/8 of an inch of extra length to both front and back. And I have lengthened my guidelines so that I can join this accurately. Everything is flat and ready to be secured. We will now clean up our lines. The adjustment for the long lower torso. The adjustment for the short lower torso is needed when there's too much length from the waist to the crotch level. Again, I'm going to be doing my cutting 1.5 inches above the low hip line so that I avoid anything to do with the crotch curve. I will cut along this line and slide up to remove the required amount. This will be done equally front and back. We have shortened. Now we'll just clean these lines up ever so slightly. The adjustment for the short lower torso. I want to go over another method of shortening the torso. We're really not doing any shortening in this area. This will be done at the crotch level. This is my preferred method when everything up here is fitting perfectly. Everything. The darts, the side seams, and when the legs look great, I just simply extend the inseam. There is a correct way to do that, and I would like to show you that now. We'll start with the back. The first step is to draft a line at right angles to grain that intersects the crotch point. Now we will measure this line from stitching line to stitching line. We have 12 7/8 inches. We will be shortening this length by raising the inseam. So we want to draft another line. Let's go up 3/4 of an inch. And we want our line to maintain the same length, 12 7/8. 12 7/8 puts us right here. I will establish a mark. Had we continued traveling up this angled line, this wouldn't have worked. We would have added too much fabric in the crotch area. Now that we have our new raised level, we will blend it back to our original inseam. And now we will blend back to our original stitching line on the back. This is our new stitching line, the purple, and we have our new cutting line. Here we have our crotch curve and its respective cutting line. This is another approach for the lower short torso. I'll get busy and do the front, and then we'll make sure that everything is true. We have our crotch level drawn at right angles to grain, intersecting the crotch point. I have raised by 3/4 of an inch, and this line between stitching lines is 10 3/4, and this line to here is the same. I will now draft my new inseam and my new crotch curve. Inseam stitching line, cutting line. Now I will rejoin the stitching line for the front crotch curve. The pink is our new crotch curve stitching line and its cutting line. Our last order of business is to true the inseams. I will fold along the stitching line of the back and align it to the stitching line of the front to make sure that we have a smooth transition in the crotch area. We have aligned the stitching line, front inseam, back inseam, our new crotch points, and we do have a very nice transition in the area of the crotch. This is option number 2 for the short lower torso.